Alright guys, welcome back to the garage. It's Tuesday afternoon and we're just going to start the video by doing a little parts unboxing. I've been waiting for this for a few weeks to come from the UK. It's not really anything pertinent to the restoration at the moment, but we're starting to stockpile some parts for the next phase of the project, which is getting the body back on the car and then building up the different areas of the car, starting with the engine bay. So I've started to sort of compile parts to be able to do that. So this box contains one thing that I knew I was going to need. So we'll have a quick look what we got here. This is from Rimmer Brothers in the UK, and as mentioned, shipping from anywhere in the world is taking quite a substantial amount of time these days under the current environment. So trying to get ahead of the game a little bit and order things in a more timely fashion. So Rimmer Brothers, return form. Alright, so I knew that the washer bottle and the washer bottle bracket were in bad shape for this car. Washer bottle itself was all yellowed, so I decided that I would try to find a new one for the engine bay, since a old stained up water bottle, washer bottle, was going to really detract from the engine bay finish. So we've gone ahead and we've got a new bracket and rubber band for that washer bottle. So that's looking good. And then we got a new bottle itself. And I'm going to find the old bottle and we're going to do a comparison to see how close they are as far as the reproduction is concerned. But this is the earlier round style versus the later square style. So we'll see how close and faithful that reproduction is. I got a new motor and new top for the bottle as well to go with that. That looks good. New hosing for under the scuttle area. New grommets. More hosing. And there should be like a T in here somewhere for the hosing, and there's the T. I know it's hard to see through all the packaging. So basically all the components required to fit the new washer. Here are the roll nuts, they call them, to fit the bottle to the bulkhead, or the bracket to the bulkhead. So I've got some of those, and then the last package is I'm not even sure what this is. I think it's it's the top of the washer bottle. You can see that there. So that's it. So that's my package from Rimmer's. So we'll put that all to good use once we get the body back on the car and we start building up the engine bay. Alright, on to finishing up the exhaust. Now, I know some of you are always interested in the cost of these parts. So this is in pounds sterling, so $76 for the, or 76 pounds for the actual parts, $14 for the shipping and handling, for a total of 90 pounds sterling. And I think that equates to somewhere around, I don't know, $165 Canadian. I'll put an actual dollar figure in Canadian dollars in a little caption at the bottom here. There you go. Okay guys, so back to the final part of getting this chassis all buttoned up, and that will be to put the exhaust back on. On my previous video I'd mentioned that I had a little bit of an issue with the exhaust that I needed to fix, and that's regarding the bung placement for the O2 sensor. It's not really quite working out as I anticipated, so I might have to do some rework on that. I'm going to try to get under the car and take a little bit of a video to show you what I'm talking about. I'm having a little bit of difficulty visualizing how much space I actually have within the engine bay or compartment to actually put an O2 sensor, where I can actually put it where the sheet metal is not going to be in the way. I've already kind of determined that I don't have enough room back in here to put the sensor, because I can't put it up on an angle because it'll hit the bodywork or the floor of the car. I can't put it too close to the actual header. It needs to be a specific distance away. So I'm left with kind of a few options to where to put this, and I thought I had put it in a good spot, and I was fairly close, I think, but not quite there. So I'll show you what I mean when I get under the car. I'll show you what's happened with the location that I picked and weld it in for the bung. Going to require some rework. Alright guys, just under the car and having a quick look at where the bung is for the oxygen sensor for my AFR gauge, and it's not in the perfect position as where I've located it. It's actually going to foul slightly on this side of the oil pan. I actually needed them off by, I don't know, maybe a ½ an inch or so. I need to actually bring it more towards the bell housing of the transmission. I was trying to locate it to be sort of centered between the bell housing and the oil pan to give it a little bit of protection from the elements, and to be able to run the cabling across the back of the bell housing and maybe pick up one of the bolts. I could probably put a little bracket on here to run the cabling through and up into the passenger compartment for the gauge hookup. So I think the thought process was okay. It's just the actual measuring was not done to the T. So we're going to have to relocate that. We'll have to grind that off, plug the exhaust, and re-drill it in a slightly different location. It's not far off, but it's not going to work where it's at. So that we need to do first before we move on with the rest of the exhaust installation. Hope that makes sense. Alright, exhaust is off. So you might recall from a previous video, I got a new drain plug for the side of the block since the petcock over here is leaking, and I've just got it actually plugged up with some JB Weld at the moment. We're going to replace that petcock just with a plain plug. So we'll go ahead and do that now. I'm expecting some coolant loss. We've got a little bit of a bucket here. We'll try to catch that. Maybe we'll move the header off. Since we've got to change the intake and exhaust manifold gasket anyway, we'll probably take the header off just to get that out of the way. And if you notice, I took the starter off already. So we'll go ahead and do that now while we've got good access, and hopefully we won't have to worry about any more leaks out of that location. Alright guys, managed to get the old bung out successfully, and I think it's reusable. We're going to thread the sensor in to make sure the threads are still good, but this looks not too bad. So we're probably just going to weld a washer in there and then fill the hole, and we'll clean up any little bits where I've gone a little bit thin here. We'll just add a little bit of weld in, but I think we're pretty good otherwise. And then of course we'll have to figure out where we're going to weld the bung in again. I did make some preliminary marks, so I've got an idea where I want to put it, but this time I'm just going to tack it, reassemble it, check it, and then fully weld it. So we're getting smarter in our old age. We've just tacked in the new location for the bung, and we've just fitted up the sensor. So we're going to go under the car and see how much clearance we have underneath the car. Looks like we're pretty even between the bell housing and the back of the oil pan. So we're good there. We will fit the starter just in case there might be some interference there as well before we fully weld it up. But we're going to get under the car now, and we'll have a look at the clearances under there. That's looking pretty good. The angle is good. The clearances are good between, as mentioned, between the oil pan and the bell housing, and the bottom or the top of the oil pan looks good. So we've got a good area to run the cable, and if need be I can wrap that with some high heat wrap from DEI or something like that, just for some added protection. So I think we're good to go there. Again, we'll just fit the starter and make sure we're okay, and I think we're good to go. We'll probably weld it up fully, but we'll do a few more checks before we do that. I don't want to have to redo any more work. Alright guys, that's been fully welded up now and sanded down, repainted, and we're just going to let that dry now overnight. So we'll get back out here tomorrow and we will finish up installing the exhaust back on the car for the final time. Hopefully, fingers crossed. That's it for now. See you tomorrow. Alright, Thursday, January 28th, 2021. I'm back in the garage today. It's a special day. It's my dad's 82nd birthday, so happy birthday, Dad. Hope you have a great day today. Anyway, so we're picking up where we left off, and that was letting this pipe dry after we did the repair on the oxygen sensor location. Welded that bung in a different location and fitted it up to make sure it fit properly. And we're good to go there. So I think we're on the final stages now of this exhaust installation. So that means that the header has to come off for the last time. We'll put the new intake and exhaust manifold gasket on, and we'll work our way backwards. We're hoping we don't have to open the garage doors today to get those exhaust pipes stuck in from the back of the car, because it's awfully cold out today. It's about -21 with the wind chill. So hopefully we'll be able to do all the work inside the garage. We've got the heater cranked up in here, and it's fairly comfortable, about 8 or 9 degrees Celsius, so just under 50 degrees Fahrenheit. And we're getting her done. Anyway, let's go. All right, we're just taking the time to check to make sure that the new gaskets we got are the correct ones for the car, and they do match the old one that I took off the car, so we're good to go there. So we'll get that installed and get that out of the way and move on from there. All right, the header's now reinstalled with a new intake and exhaust manifold gasket. And I recall that someone made a comment on my previous video that they were disappointed that I hadn't cleaned the footballs. They were still rusty, so I'm in the process of cleaning them. Don't worry, I wouldn't let that go back on my car. I think you probably all know that. Anyway, we're wire brushing them down. We're going to give them a quick coat of paint, probably just a cast iron coating paint, and those will be good to go. Back on the car. All right, those look good. I'll paint it with the spray gray, which is the Eastwood cast iron look-alike paint, so those are good to go. So as mentioned, I'm not going to put the intake manifold on with the carburetors until the body goes back on the car. It's a little difficult to get the body over the carburetors. I don't even know if it's possible to do it with the triple Webers on. I know it's even difficult to do it with the stock carburetors on, so we're going to leave the carburetors off and the manifolds off, intake manifolds off, until we get the body on the car. So we'll have to be a little bit of a contortionist to do up those bottom bolts a little bit later on, but that's the way it's got to be on this car. All right, so let's get back to installing the rest of the exhaust system, starting with this pipe over here. All right, collector's bolted up, mid pipe's bolted up. We've got the exhaust set over there. We're just getting some hardware together, and we'll try to install this for the final time. We are using copper anti-seize everywhere on the joints, just in case we need to get this off again. It's probably not a bad idea. So hopefully we'll be able to snake this in without opening the garage, but I don't think it's going to happen. Looks like we're going to get cold shortly. Just bending up some new brackets for my rear of the exhaust mounts to the differential mount. We got one done, so we're just working on this one. We put a bit of a twist in it and drill a couple holes. Got some rubber bushings for it, and we should be good to go. Look a whole lot better than the old ones that came off some other car. All right, we'll come back. All right, guys, new hanger brackets are made. So we're just going to give these a quick coat of paint. We're going to let them dry. And we're getting pretty close here to finishing up. So I've got the exhaust situated where I want it to be. I've got clearance through the t-shirt section. I've got the mid pipe clamps clamped up. So really it's just these two rear mounts, and to tighten everything up on the rear here, and put the starter back on, and we're pretty much done. So we're getting there. So let's get some painting done, and we'll get out here, put those brackets back on, and hopefully finish by this evening. Alright guys, the exhaust is now firmly mounted for the very last time, and again it may need some adjustment once we get the body on. We may have to lift up the pipes or let them down depending on where they sit with the rear valence of the car. There are the mounts that I made. I don't know if you can see those there. They worked out pretty well. So they look good. Nice and solid mount on the exhaust. I got good clearance like I mentioned through the t-shirt section. We've got those band clamps on the center section. So that is looking good. So we are going to call the chassis done for now at least. And we're now going to move on to the bodywork to get the engine bay painted so we can mate these two together. So I've already spoken to Les about the possibility of moving this out into the trailer this weekend. So hopefully we can do that. And that'll give me a little bit of room out here to maneuver the body so I can get to the front of the car a little bit better in order to start sanding the engine bay down for a repaint. Alright guys, that's it for now. Thanks for watching, and as always, thanks for commenting, and we will see you later on.